Hey all, sleep-deprived Jewish-Anglican here. Have you ever thought about how Loki from the MCU is a weirdly great metaphor for Western Europe's religious phases? Just me? Okay. Here's my rant. I did not sleep the best last night, so I might be a little weird, but here goes nothing. So first we must understand, each pagan religion in Europe, let's use the Greco-Roman, Celtic, and Norse for our examples, they were all a little different. The Greeks and the Romans had a much more domain sovereignty, your classical god of war, god of love kind of thing. The Celts were more gods of craft. They made their things. It was about how they made things and their relation towards them. The Norse were more archetypes. Odin was the wise king who would wander around the land to deceive and learn. Thor was the guardsman of his city kind of archetype. So let's swing to the year 2000 and something, whenever the Thor film released, and we have Loki. Loki's an interesting character because in Norse mythology, he's not really a villain in the classical sense. In a lot of later translations in the Victorian era, they tried to make him this devil figure, which is not what Snorri was doing at all. In fact, here's a link to one of my videos about Loki. Watch that. Anyways, so we see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe films, that Loki is very much a pagan Norse god, and he wants to rule in sovereign and domain over things, which is a very Greek thing, a very Greco-Roman. And he very much does that throughout the entire film series, up until arguably Thor Ragnarok. And that's where things get interesting, because he starts to become more like mythic Loki, where he's not really a villain anymore, just kind of a mean guy, kind of mean. He gets things done in a very questionable manner. And yeah, everyone knows about that, he's though. And then he very much becomes more of a classical mythic Loki, where he's not really a villain, but definitely not the best of guys. He's more of a guy there to fix things. And then he is, of course, spoiler alerts from a film from 2018. He gets killed by Thanos. Then through some wibbly wobbly timey.
The time is a strict progression of cause to effect, but actually, from a non-linear, non-subjective viewpoint, it's more like a big ball of wibbly wobbly, timey wimey stuff.
He comes back in his own spin-off show. Recommend. And in it, he kind of evolves from into almost of a Celtic deity in terms of being a crafter and in how he makes and how he revolves around things. He also becomes much more Norse in his how he operates as not really a villain but not really a hero, just kind of a guy who has to fix things. But then this is where things get interesting. I'll try to summarize season 2. Basically, time is going out of not well. Timelines are dying, multiverse is dying, all this great, sci-fi jargon, and Loki's not sure what to do. He can't domain and sovereign and rule like the Greeks, like how it is in, how he used to be. He got a mischief, he is, it's not quite like he can no longer be the archetype, he can no longer be a perfect craftsman. He's in a weird era. He really has to sacrifice himself for a greater, higher, universal, multiversal purpose around just the fact he loves his family, he loves his friends, he very much wants the multiverse to exist. So he has to sacrifice himself and have it be fixed. He does this by kind of being in a giant old tree. Like I said, watch the Loki TV series. My point is, you could almost paint this as a really weird European myth of Europe accepting Christ. I know that sounds weird, but listen to my logic. You have all the different types you have the Greek domain, you have the Celtic craftsman, you have the Norse archetypes. All things that Loki kind of interweaves with. But then you have Christianity spreading throughout Europe, and this is where things get interesting. We all know what Christianity is. It's about Jesus Christ dying on our cross for our sins, and he tells us to go and sin no more and spread the good word. And in a really weird way, Loki season 2 is about Loki repenting and picking up his cross. That's kind of what he's doing in a weird way. in a way, and I know this is a really weird argument, and like I said, I'm incredibly sleep deprived. Loki is a great metaphor for Western Europe. Ending is like the European pagans finally accepting Christ. I don't think you could probably nail one nation onto Loki, but you really do have a really weird neo myth in a way that Loki isn't a villain anymore. He is a fixer, which is weirdly more in line with the myths. While also the MCU kind of created a new myth that feels right for Europe in a weird way. I have no idea if this is going to make any sense. I am way too tired. But yeah, this is my insane ramblings about one of my top 5 favorite fictional characters of all time. Hope you enjoyed. I know I think I did. But yeah, I hope you have a good time and God bless.